Good afternoon, folks. Just a quick little update. Several things going on in the shop today, but we ran bluing tanks finally this morning. So there's one of the baskets of T-nuts, and I haven't wiped these down. I haven't done anything with them other than just pull them out of the tanks. But anyway, that's the way they look. So I will get these cleaned up later today probably, and get them loaded onto the website. Oh, maybe later today. I'm going to package them up in packages of 2. I think that's a nice number to have here. So I just had about 3 little baskets of stuff, and a couple of them were those T-nuts, and they came out real well. I'm real happy with them. One thing to note, and I see quite a few guys and some prominent YouTubers they talk about gun bluing, and they will tell us that the cold blue solution they use, they're calling a gun blue, and they're telling you it's just as good as any of the other bluings out there, and I'm going to call bullshit on that. It's a cold blue, and you see the commercial black oxide finishes, and there's some guys that can tell you the chemical composition. I don't worry about that, but a cold blue is just that. Now there's some techniques where you can get some decent bluing on with them. They're not nearly as durable as a good hot blue setup is, and one step above that is rust bluing, and I've never really gotten into the rust bluing much. I played with it a little bit, and the guys that are good at that are very good, and that's a super good finish. That is really durable and holds up better than just about anything I've seen as far as a bluing finish. But like I say, that's kind of above my pay grade. But the bluing that I use is a hot bluing. It's a regular professional gunsmith blue. It holds up pretty well. I've been real happy with it over the years. But just so you're aware, the cold blues, they work. They're a good option for the home shop guys to get a little bit of protection on your tooling. But it's not nearly as durable as a hot bluing setup. In my setup, I run 5 tanks, and at some point in time, I'll do a little more in depth on that one way or another, because I plan on setting up another set of small tanks. So we'll do a little something with that later on. But anyway, just kind of a point of information. The cold blues work. They're a good option in the home shop, but they're not going to do as good a job as the professional bluing is. So anyway. Sand muller. I have the bearings done for it now. Got our greaser fittings in. I'm going to get these painted up and installed probably later today yet. The day's getting close to the end here, and I've got a couple of projects I've got to get done, but I got those machined out. We'll get a little paint on them, get them installed. Once I get that done, I've got to weld on the wheel elevator type setup that goes on the muller. After that, get it painted up, assembled. The internal portion, the insides of the drum, the plows and all of that are basically done. I'm going to go on to working on the gearbox. I've got to cast those 2 halves for the aluminum gearbox. That's probably going to be the next project. Other than that, I think I've got to design a casting and make a pattern for the little seal I want on the bottom, or to hold a seal on the bottom of the main spindle. I've talked about that before. Other than that, the casting portion, I believe, is done for the sand muller. I may have to, I think I need one more hubcap maybe. Other than that, all the casting's done. It's just going to be down to the machining once I get those 2 gearbox halves done, and possibly one more casting. So that's coming along. I'm excited to get that done now. Once I get that done and operational, we're going to see a lot more stuff on the Sheldon lathe on my other little EXL 10-inch. The Sheldon that I'm working off of now is getting pretty ragged, so it's time to get busy on the other one. I've already got the gearbox off of the one that I'm going to rebuild, and I'm going to start going through it a little bit. But I've got to get started on that, just because I'm going to have a replacement for my lathe. It's not doing what I want it to do right now. So other than that going on, don't have a tremendous amount of stuff. Haven't done a little fleabay edition for a couple, 3 weeks here, and I've kind of just taken a break. I've talked about my feelings about that at one time or another. But it's about time to do another one, and very quickly I'll cover some parts on castings. I've said before, there is no reason in the world to buy a replacement casting. If you've already got a casting, you're far ahead just to keep, you know, what you've got and rework it, because you're not going to get anything better on these guys that are parting out machines. Perfect example is I've been watching for a saddle casting, and I said I was going to cast my own, and I still am going to build a pattern to cast my own. But as I watch that stuff, if something interests me, and especially saddle castings, I normally will save in my watch list, just because I have kind of been looking to see what they're going for. Quite often, if you save something into your watch list, why, it's not long that you're going to get an offer from a seller. Not always, but part of the time you will get an offer from that seller offering you 5-10% off, something like that. So I was watching a saddle casting, and it's a machine that's being parted out. The guy said, you know, I've covered him before actually, and kind of ranted and raved about parting out machines the way I do. Now, he had listed, has parted out a couple of mills, and the one, or a mill, and he said this is one that he started to redo and went through, cleaned it all up, but decided it wasn't worth doing, is the bottom line to it. So he's been parting it out. He had a saddle casting up there, and I saved it into my watch list. And I've made, 3 or 4 offers over the last couple of years on saddle castings, but either the guys would offer you 5% off or something like that, and I felt they were still too expensive. This saddle casting was listed at about, I think, $80, $75, something like that, plus shipping, and then of course here we pay sales tax on it and all this other good stuff. So I just saved it to my list, hadn't really paid much attention. You could tell the casting was definitely moved, had definitely been used and somewhat abused, and it was listed as in good used condition, you know, and supposedly it worked fine on the machine when it was fully assembled, before he disassembled it. So I ended up and saved it to my save list, and I got a offer from him for 25% off, which put it at $50. And normally for just a casting, I'm going to say that saddle casting is not worth $50. This one had the gibs with it, which I don't care. I'm going to build new gibs for it. Had the gib screws and had both lock handles with it. And it's been beat. The handles are well used and abused. So for $50, I went ahead and I bought it. So felt it was worth that. I still feel it was worth that. And there were several pictures of it, and everything that I see wrong with it now was in the pictures. Part of it I realized, part of it I didn't. And it just goes to show that anytime you're trying to replace a casting you've already got, you're not going to get anything any better. The only reason I bought this and was even mildly interested was because I needed one. So, and it was either buy one or cast your own, and my intent was to cast my own, and I'm still going to build a pattern off of it. So I debated as to whether I wanted to share this or not, but I'm going to share it with you just so you know. Now and this is a casting here. Now the bottom part of this casting that slides on the knee is in relatively good shape from looking at it. And everything that I've seen wrong with it is shown in the pictures, you know, so I can't complain. I can complain, but I'm not going to leave negative feedback for it. Picture showed what it was, and I'm supposed to be knowledgeable enough that I know what I'm looking at. Now, when you look at the top, this has been well used and abused. You can see on both ends it's worn, and you can see on this side all these striations down through here, and it was run with the gibs loose and with no lube in it, is what I suspect this was. So, you know, that's a pretty ugly surface when you see it in person. The picture showed it, but maybe not quite as well as it actually is, and I'm not going to blame the seller for that. This was shown, you know. I attributed part of it maybe to the lighting of it and that type of thing, but what it was is what it was, and I saw the condition of this. The bottom looks pretty good. The thing that I do kind of complain about, or the thing I do have a problem with, and if you look closely in the pictures it is if you pick it out, but I did not pick it out, is right along here you're going to see three little places that are a little bit shiny. And and it showed it from the side, so you saw it from this angle too. And you could see a little bit of waviness there, and I thought, well, it may be the way it shows in the pictures, it may not. What it actually was is, for whatever reason, between each of these Gibbs screws, they beat the crap out of that probably with a ball peen hammer. They've swaged those up, and that's why we have these raised marks here. I have no idea why that was done, unless it was to try and bring the table up slightly, and so it wasn't bottoming out in the bottom of the Gibbs. And you can see it's definitely been riding there. But why it was done that way rather than just tightening up the Gibbs, working it that way, I honestly don't know. But I missed that. I did not see those. So, you know, something that it'll work out fine for what I want to use it for. I'm going to rework this extensively enough to where it's not going to make any difference. It'll come out fine. But it just goes to show that when you're buying replacement castings, you're not getting anything better than what you've got unless you've just literally got something that's broken. So anyway, I feel like I got a fair deal on it. I feel like everything was shown in it, but you can't always tell what's going on there. So anyway, for what it's worth, there's my latest little rant on that. So I think that's about all I've got going. We've already released the video on turning the spiral groove on the Quorn, so on the grown-up Quorn tool and cutter grinder. So the next thing will probably be machining the bores for the bed bars and cutting the bed bars to length and getting that stuff set. A few changes I'm going to make there. And then it's just continuing to build parts. But I'm excited to get the muller farther along. You know, I want to see if I can't get it done and up and operational. Otherwise, you know, yesterday was a casting day, so I got all of the little bosses that fit in the gearbox, which I needed 4 of them. I got all 4 of those cast, and I got the 2 bushings for in the pivot assembly up in the drum, and you know, I just showed you those. I'm gonna get those painted up and installed today. So anyway, hopefully you find that a little informative. Thanks for following along. I appreciate it. Comments, suggestions, leave in the comment section for me below. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.